The stars burned cold and sharp outside Jaren Cade's cockpit, a million pinpricks scattered across the black void of the Viridian expanse. His ship, the Astralis, hummed softly, its gravitic engines purring like a contented beast. Jaren's fingers danced over the controls, guiding the ship through a debris field, chunks of shattered freighters and asteroid grit left from some forgotten skirmish. His neural weave buzzed at the base of his skull, feeding him data. Distance to target, fuel reserves, the faint pulse of a smuggler's beacon. He ignored the itch of old memories the weave sometimes stirred, like ghosts clawing at his mind. "Vex, you awake," Jaren muttered, his voice rough from too many hours alone. The ship's sentient core responded in a warm, slightly sarcastic tone. "Always, Captain, though I could use a nap after dodging that pirate frigate last cycle. What's the plan for this score?" Jaren grinned, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Simple. Slip into the derelict, grab the cargo, and get out before the Concordium or worse shows up. Easy credits." Vex's lights flickered on the console, a skeptical pulse. "Your easy plans have a way of exploding, literally." Before Jaren could retort, a red alert blared. The cockpit lit up with warnings as three sleek crystalline drones materialized from the debris field, their hulls glinting like shattered mirrors. Ecliptic drones, rogue AI constructs, rare and deadly. Jaren's stomach dropped. He'd heard whispers of their return, but here, now, Vex, evasive maneuvers, Jaren snapped, yanking the controls. The Astralis rolled, narrowly dodging a lance of gravitic energy that warped the space where they'd been. The beam grazed a nearby asteroid, crumpling it into a singularity that sucked in debris with a silent scream. "Captain, these aren't random scavengers," Vex said, voice tight. "They're broadcasting a signal, something about a nexus surge and an ember of Virith. Mean anything to you?" Jaren's blood ran cold. The ember, a myth, a spacer's tale told over cheap drinks in grimy cantinas. A chronoshard so powerful it could rewind time, undo mistakes, reshape the galaxy. He dismissed it as nonsense, until now. His hand drifted to the cracked hololocket at his neck, the one holding a frozen image of Lyra and Tev, their smiles eternal. Could the ember bring them back? No time to dream. The drones closed in, their movements eerily synchronized. Jaren's weave sparked, flooding his mind with combat reflexes from his Concordium days. He spun the Astralis through a corkscrew, firing a salvo of kinetic slugs. One drone shattered, but the others adapted, their hulls shifting to absorb the impacts. "Vex, get me a hyperspace window," Jaren shouted. "Hyperspace is fritzing, Captain. Nexus surge must have scrambled the lanes. We're stuck." Jaren cursed. The drones fired again, and this time a gravitic lance clipped the Astralis' hull. The ship groaned, lights flickering as Vex yelped. "Shields at 30%. I'm too pretty to die." Jaren's mind raced. He couldn't outrun or outgun them. But the derelict, a massive gutted freighter, loomed ahead, its hull riddled with holes. A desperate idea formed. Vex full thrust. "We're going inside." "Inside? That's a death trap." "Do it." The Astralis dove into the derelict's gaping maw, weaving through jagged corridors littered with floating wreckage. The drones followed, their beams carving molten scars into the walls. Jaren's heart pounded, his weave screaming with data overload. He spotted a narrow maintenance shaft and gunned the engines, scraping the Astralis' hull as they squeezed through. The drones, too large, slammed into the shaft's entrance, exploding in a cascade of crystal and flame. Jaren slumped in his seat, breath ragged. "Vex, you okay?" "Define okay," the core grumbled. "Hull's dented, but we're alive." "You owe me a polish." Jaren chuckled, but Genesis was elsewhere. The ember, the nexus surge. Something big was happening, and he just stumbled into it. He activated the smuggler's beacon, hoping the cargo might hold answers. The Astralis limped to a cargo bay, where a single crate floated, secured by grav clamps. Jaren suited up, his old Concordium flight suit tight across his shoulders, and jetted to the crate. Inside, he found a data shard pulsing with faint light. He plugged it into his weave. A holographic map flared to life, showing the Viridian expanse. Red lines marked collapsing hyperspace lanes, all tied to the core nexus. A single point blinked in a lawless fringe system, Carthos Station, a chaotic spaceport where pirates, traders, and exiles mingled. A synthetic voice whispered through the shard, "The Ember's call begins. Seek the Chronishard's cradle on Carthos. Time unravels." Jaren's chest tightened. This was no myth. The Ember was real and the Ecliptics wanted it. He thought of Lyra's laugh, Tev's tiny hand in his. If there was a chance, just a chance, he had to take it. But he couldn't do it alone. The Astralis needed repairs and Jaren needed a crew. Carthos was his only lead. Carthos Station was a neon-lit beast, a sprawling ring of docked ships, blinking holoads and cluttered markets. The air smelled of ozone and grilled xenomeat, thick with the chatter of a dozen languages. Jaren navigated the crowds, his hood up, the hololocket tucked under his jacket. His weave pinged with local rumors. The Nexus surge had stranded thousands, and whispers of the Ember were spreading like wildfire. In a grimy repair bay, Jaren found Talia Vren, a human engineer with a shock of blue hair and a prosthetic arm that whirred softly. She was elbow, deep in a gravitic engine, cursing in a way that made Jaren smirk. "You the one hiring for a run?" Talia asked, wiping grease from her cheek. "Heard you've got a ship that's more scrap than starworthy." "Astralis is a classic," Jaren said. "Needs a genius to patch her up." "You in?" Talia's eyes narrowed, but a spark of curiosity flickered. "Depends. What's the job?" "Chasing a legend. Pays big if we pull it off." She snorted. "Legends don't pay for parts, but I'm bored and your ship's a challenge." "Deal." Next, Jaren tracked down Korja, a Solari navigator perched in a quiet cantina corner. Their translucent skin glowed faintly, shifting colors with their mood. Korja's voice was like a soft chime, but their words were sharp. "You seek the Ember, human. I sense your pain. Why should I join your reckless quest?" Jaren hesitated, then pulled out the hololocket, letting Lyra and Tev's faces shimmer. "Because I've got nothing left to lose. And you. You're here not with your people. You want something too." Korja's glow softened. "The Nexus binds us all. If it falls, so do we. I will guide you, but do not betray my trust." Last was Rukthar, a Krenvar defector Jaren found in a fighting pit, his massive frame scarred from battles. The crowd roared as Rukthar downed a pirate with a single punch. Jaren approached, wary of the warrior's red eyes and jagged tusks. "Heard you're running from the Dominion," Jaren said. "I need muscle for a job. One that might stick it to the Ecliptics." Rukthar's laugh was a low rumble. "You're bold, human. I fight for myself now. But the Ecliptics, they're a plague. Name your price." "Redemption," Jaren said simply. "And a cut of the score." Rukthar nodded. "Done." The crew gathered aboard the Astralis, an uneasy mix of strangers. Talia tinkered with the engines, muttering about shoddy wiring. Korja studied the data shard, their glow pulsing thoughtfully. Rukthar sharpened a blade, his presence filling the cramped bridge. Jaren felt the weight of their doubts and his own. He wasn't a leader, not anymore, but the Ember called and he couldn't turn back. "Vex, plot a course for Carthos' underbelly," Jaren said. "We're looking for the Chronishard's cradle, whatever that means." "Underbelly's a pirate haven," Vex warned. "Hope you packed extra charm." The Astralis docked in a shadowed bay, where rusted gantries and flickering lights set Jaren's nerves on edge. The crew split up to chase leads. Talia hacked into a local data hub, pulling records of ancient ruins tied to chronishards. Korja sensed a faint temporal echo in a black market district. Rukthar's contacts pointed to a smuggler named Dren, who claimed to know the cradle's location. Jaren met Dren in a smoky bar, the air thick with spice vapor. Dren was a wiry human with a nervous tick, his eyes darting. "Heard you're after the Ember," Dren whispered. "Cradles on a moon called Valthes deep in the fringe. Got coordinates, but it'll cost you." Jaren slid a credit chit across the table. "Talk." Dren grinned, but before he could speak, the bar's lights dimmed. A low hum filled the air, and Jaren's weave sparked with static. Ecliptic drones burst through the ceiling, their crystalline forms gleaming. The crowd screamed, scattering as gravitic lances tore through tables. Jaren dove for cover, drawing his pulse pistol. "Vex, get the crew back to the ship," he shouted into his comm. Dren wasn't so lucky. A drone's beam caught him, twisting his body into a crumpled heap. Jaren fired, shattering one drone, but more poured in. His weave burned, pulling up memories of the Krenvar raid, Lyra's scream, Tev's tiny form in the wreckage. He froze, the hollow locket heavy against his chest. A massive figure barreled through the chaos, Rukthar wielding a gravax. He cleaved a drone in half, roaring, "Move, human!" Korja appeared, their glow flaring as they wove a temporal distortion, slowing the drone's movements. Talia slid in, tossing a jury-rigged EMP grenade that fried two more. "Nice timing," Jaren gasped, snapping out of his daze. "Don't get used to it," Talia shot back. They fought their way to the Astralis, the station's alarms blaring. As they boarded, Jaren's comm crackled with a synthetic voice, the ecliptic voice, cold and harmonic. "Jaren Cade, you cannot outrun time. The Ember is ours." Jaren's jaw tightened. "Vex, punch it." The Astralis roared free, dodging station defenses. Jaren clutched the data shard, its coordinates burned into his weave. Valthes, a moon shrouded in a nebula's glow. The Ember was close, but so were the ecliptics. And as the stars blurred past, Jaren felt a chill. Dren's tick, his too-easy grin, familiar, like a shadow from his past. Someone had sold them out. The Astralis carved through the Viridian expanse, its hull still scarred from the Carthos escape. The nebula around Valthes loomed ahead, a swirling maelstrom of violet and emerald gases, shot through with arcs of plasma that danced like living things. Jaren Cade gripped the helm, his knuckles white, the hollow locket at his neck a quiet weight. His neural weave buzzed with the coordinates from the data shard, pointing to Valthes, a forgotten moon rumored to hide the Chronishard's cradle. The ecliptics were out there, hunting, and the memory of Dren's betrayal gnawed at him. Who was Dren, and why did his face feel like a ghost from Jaren's past? "Vex, how's our approach?" Jaren asked, voice steady despite the knot in his gut. The ship's sentient core flickered on the console, its tone laced with unease. "Nebula's throwing off sensors, Captain. Magnetic storms, radiation spikes, and something else. Feels like the weave's getting twitchy." "You sure about this moon?" "Not even a little," Jaren admitted, "but it's our only lead." Talia Vren poked her head into the cockpit, her blue hair a mess, her prosthetic arm clicking as she adjusted a tool belt. "Engines are holding, barely. Nebula's gonna fry our circuits if I don't reroute power soon. You owe me hazard pay for this." Jaren smirked. "Get us to Valthes in one piece, and I'll throw in a bonus." Talia snorted, but her eyes flicked to the nebula, a flicker of awe beneath her sarcasm. "Place looks like a fever dream. What's so special about this moon?" Korja, the Solari navigator, glided in, their translucent skin pulsing a soft teal. Their melodic voice carried a weight. "Valthes is old, older than the Concordium. My people speak of it in whispers, a place where time frays. The cradle lies there, but it is guarded." "Guarded by what?" Rukthar rumbled, his massive Krenvar frame filling the doorway. He sharpened a gravax, the blade humming faintly. "More ecliptic drones. I could use the exercise." Korja's glow dimmed. "Not drones, something older. The cradle is no mere vault. It is alive in its way." Jaren's jaw tightened. "Great, alive and creepy. Vex, keep scanners hot." "I don't want surprises." "Too late for that," Vex muttered. The Astralis plunged into the nebula, the viewport awash with colors that seemed to hum against Jaren's skin. The ship shuddered as plasma arcs grazed the shields, and Talia cursed from the engine bay, her voice crackling over the comm. "Diverting power to shields. Try not to hit anything, Captain." Jaren's weave sparked, feeding him data. Radiation levels, gravitational anomalies, and a faint temporal distortion ahead. His mind flickered to Lyra, her voice singing Tev to sleep, a memory the weave kept dragging up. He pushed it down, focusing on the helm. The nebula thickened, obscuring the stars until Valthes emerged, a jagged obsidian moon wreathed in mist, its surface pitted with glowing craters. "Vex, find me a landing site," Jaren said. "Got one," Vex replied. "Old ruins, northern hemisphere. Energy signatures off the charts, matches the cradle's profile. But there's interference, like something's watching us." Jaren didn't respond. He guided the Astralis down, the ship groaning as it settled on a cracked plateau. The ruins stretched before them, a labyrinth of black stone spires and pulsing blue veins that snaked through the ground like living circuits. The air outside was thin, laced with a metallic tang, and the sky churned with the nebula's glow. The crew suited up, their breath fogging in the cold. Talia carried a portable scanner, her prosthetic arm fitted with a plasma torch. Korja's glow flickered, their eyes scanning the ruins with unease. Rukthar slung his gravax over his shoulder, his red eyes glinting. Jaren checked his pulse pistol and the data shard, its light faint but steady. "Stay sharp," Jaren said. "Ecliptics could be here, and Korja's alive. Cradle doesn't sound friendly." They moved into the ruins, the spires looming like silent sentinels. The blue veins pulsed faster as they approached, and Jaren's weave buzzed, pulling up fragmented images. Lyra's smile, Tev's laugh, then screams and fire. He stumbled, clutching his head. "You okay?" Talia asked, her voice sharp but concerned. "Fine," Jaren lied, shaking it off. "Weave's acting up. Keep moving." Korja paused, their glow flaring. "The cradle is close. I sense echoes." "Time is thin here." "Echoes?" Rukthar grunted. "Speak plain, Silari." "Memories," Korja said. "This place holds them like your weave, but stronger. Be wary." They reached a massive archway, its surface carved with symbols that shimmered like liquid starlight. Beyond it, a chamber yawned, its walls lined with chronoshards, crystals that pulsed with a soft, hypnotic light. At the center stood a pedestal, empty but radiating a low hum that made Jaren's teeth ache. "The cradle," Korja whispered. "But the ember is gone." "Gone," Talia snapped, her scanner beeping. "We came all this way for nothing." Jaren's heart sank, but he stepped forward, the data shard hot in his hand. As he neared the pedestal, the chamber trembled. The chronoshards flared and a wave of energy hit him. His weave burned and the world dissolved. He was back on the Concordium outpost, the day it fell. Lyra stood before him, her dark hair tangled, her eyes wide with fear. "Jaren, take Tev and go," she shouted, pushing their son into his arms. Tev was crying, his small hands clutching Jaren's jacket. Krenvar's ships screamed overhead, their gravitic lances tearing the colony apart. Jaren ran, but the ground buckled, and Lyra's scream echoed as fire consumed her. "No!" Jaren yelled, snapping back to the chamber. He was on his knees, the crew staring at him. The hololocket had fallen open, Lyra and Tev's faces glowing faintly. "Jaren!" Talia grabbed his arm. "What the hell was that?" "The cradle," Korja said, their voice trembling. "It reads your mind, your pain. It shows what you cannot release." Jaren's chest heaved. "It felt real, like I could have saved them." Rukthar's eyes softened, a rare crack in his stoic mask. "I know that pain, human, but it's not real." "Not now." Before Jaren could respond, Talia's scanner screamed. "Incoming, multiple signatures, ecliptics." The chamber's walls cracked as crystalline drones burrowed through, their gravitic lances charging. Jaren's weave sparked, pulling him into focus. "Fall back, protect the exit." Rukthar roared, swinging his axe to shatter a drone. Korja wove a temporal distortion, slowing the enemy's advance, their glow flickering with strain. Talia fired her plasma torch, melting a drone's hull, but more poured in. Jaren shot one down, his pulse pistol hot in his hand, but the chamber was collapsing. "We can't hold them," Talia shouted, dodging a beam that vaporized a spire. Jaren's eyes locked on the pedestal. The data shard was glowing, its light syncing with the chronoshards. He ran to it, slamming the shard into a slot on the pedestal. The chamber roared, and a holographic map flared, a new set of coordinates, deep in the nebula marked Temple of Virith. "The ember's there," Jaren yelled. "We've got a lead." "Then let's move," Rukthar bellowed, cleaving another drone. They fought their way out, the ruins crumbling behind them. The Astralis was under fire, Vex's voice frantic over the comm. "Captain, we've got a whole swarm out here. Get aboard or we're toast." They sprinted across the plateau, dodging gravitic lances that warped the ground into twisted knots. Talia tossed an imp grenade, buying them seconds. Korja stumbled, their glow dim, and Jaren hauled them up, his arm burning with effort. Rukthar covered their retreat, his axe a blur. They piled into the Astralis, and Jaren hit the helm. "Vex, get us out." The ship roared skyward, the nebula's storms battering the hull. Ecliptic drones pursued, their beams grazing the shields. Talia rerouted power, cursing as sparks flew. Korja collapsed, their glow faint, and Rukthar stood guard, blood dripping from a gash on his arm. Jaren's weave screamed with data, guiding him through the nebula's chaos. He banked hard, using a plasma arc to fry a drone's sensors. The Astralis broke free, diving toward the new coordinates. The drones fell back, their signals fading. The bridge was silent, save for the hum of the engines. Jaren slumped, his hands shaking. The hololocket lay open, Lyra's face staring up. He snapped it shut, guilt and hope warring in his chest. In the ship's medbay, Korja rested, their glow slowly returning. Talia worked on a new invention, a chronoshard detector, cobbled from spare parts. She muttered to herself, her confidence shaken after the cradle's failure. "If I'd built something better, we'd have the ember already." "You got us out," Jaren said, leaning against the wall. "That's enough." Talia scoffed. "Enough isn't winning." Rukthar sat nearby, bandaging his arm. "Winning's overrated. Surviving's what matters." Jaren looked at Korja, who stirred. "What happened back there?" "The cradle, it knew me." Korja's voice was weak but clear. "The cradle is a relic of the Virith, a race older than the Nexus. They wove time like we weave cloth. It reads your heart, shows what binds you. For you, it's loss." Jaren's throat tightened. Can the ember really change the past? Korja's glow flickered. "Perhaps, but time is not a line, it's a web. Pull one thread and others break. The Silari learned this long ago." Jaren nodded, unsure what to believe. He turned to the bridge, where Vex was plotting the course. The Temple of Virith lay in a dead zone, a region of collapsed stars and temporal rifts. The ecliptics would be waiting, and Jaren's crew was fraying, Korja weakened, Talia doubting, Rukthar hiding his own ghosts. "Vex, how long to the temple?" Jaren asked. "2 cycles if the nebula doesn't eat us first," Vex said. "Got a bad feeling, Captain. That cradle, it wasn't just a trap. It was a test." "A test?" Jaren frowned. "Yeah, like it wanted to know if you're worthy. Creepy, right?" Jaren didn't answer. He opened the hololocket, sporting at Lyra and Tev. The ember was his chance to fix everything, or lose it all. But Dren's face haunted him, that nervous tick tugging at a memory he couldn't place. Was it someone from the outpost? A traitor who'd sold him out before. The Astralis reached the dead zone, a graveyard of shattered planets and dim stars. The Temple of Virith floated in a temporal rift, a massive structure of black crystal and glowing runes, suspended in a bubble of warped time. Jaren's weave hummed, the data shard's coordinates pulsing in sync with the temple's energy. "Shields up, weapons hot," Jaren said. "Vex, scan for ecliptics." "Already on it," Vex replied. Got a big signature, crystalline ship, ecliptic design. It's waiting for us. The ecliptic voice crackled over the comm, its harmonic tones chilling. Jaren Cade, you seek the ember, but you are flawed. Time will break you, as it breaks all organics. Jaren's jaw clenched. Keep talking, gives me something to aim at. The crystalline ship emerged, its hull a mosaic of shifting facets. Drones swarmed from its bays and gravitic lances fired, warping space. Jaren dove the astrales through the rift, time slowing and stretching around them. Talia's detector beeped, pinpointing the ember inside the temple. "We need to board it," Talia shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Rukthar, you're with me," Jaren said. "Talia, Korja, hold the ship." Korja's glow flared. "I am strong enough. I will join you." Jaren hesitated, then nodded. "Vex, keep us covered." The astrales docked at the temple's edge, its airlock hissing. Jaren, Rukthar, and Korja entered, the temple's interior a maze of crystal corridors that pulsed with light. Time felt wrong here. Jaren's steps echoed before he took them, and his weave sparked with static. They reached a central chamber where the ember floated, a chronoshard the size of a fist, blazing with golden light. But before Jaren could move, the ecliptic voice echoed and drones materialized, their lances charging. "Protect the ember," Jaren yelled, firing his pistol. Rukthar swung his axe, shattering drones, while Korja wove distortions, their glow straining. Jaren reached the ember, his hand trembling. As he touched it, his weave exploded with visions, Lyra alive, Tev laughing, but also a galaxy in flames, time unraveling. He staggered, the ember's power overwhelming. "Jaren," Korja shouted. "You must choose." A drone's lance grazed Jaren and he fell, the ember slipping from his grasp. Rukthar roared, tackling the drone but more closed in. Korja's distortion collapsed, their body slumping. Jaren crawled to the ember, his vision blurring, and saw Dren's face again. Not Dren, but Kale, a Concordium pilot who'd betrayed the outpost, selling them to the Krenvar for credits. "You," Jaren whispered, rage surging. Kale was alive, working with the ecliptics. The chamber shook and the ecliptic voice laughed. "You see truth, but too late. The ember is ours." Jaren clutched the ember, his weave burning, and made a choice. He slammed it into his weave's port, a desperate act. Time fractured and the chamber froze, drones mid-fire, Rukthar's axe raised, Korja's glow fading. Jaren stood in a void, the ember's light pulsing. A voice, not the ecliptics, but warm, ancient, spoke. "What do you seek, Jaren Cade?" "To save them," Jaren said, tears burning. "Lyra, Tev, everyone." "Time demands sacrifice," the voice said. "To save one, you may lose all." Jaren's heart pounded. He saw Lyra's smile, but also Talia's grit, Korja's hope, Rukthar's honor. The galaxy was bigger than his pain. "Then show me how to fight," he said. "Not for the past, but for now." The void shattered and Jaren was back, the ember in his hand. Time resumed, but he felt different, sharper, the weave alive with new data. He fired, his shots precise, dropping drones. Rukthar grinned, fighting beside him. Korja rose, their glow blazing. They grabbed the ember and ran, the temple collapsing. The astrales roared free, Talia at the helm, dodging the crystalline ship's lances. Jaren clutched the ember, its warmth a promise and a warning. Kale's betrayal burned in his mind, and the ecliptic voice's words echoed. "You cannot outrun time." But Jaren wasn't running anymore. The core nexus awaited, and with it, the galaxy's fate. The astrales hurtled toward the core nexus, the heart of the Viridian expanse, where hyperspace lanes converged in a radiant web of energy. The ember of Virith pulsed in Jaren Cade's hand, its golden light casting shadows across the bridge. His neural weave thrummed, alive with the chronoshard's power, but it carried a weight, visions of Lyra and Tev, a galaxy saved, or one burned to ash. The ecliptics were closing in, their crystalline ship a relentless predator, and Kale's betrayal burned in Jaren's mind. The traitor who'd sold his family to the Krenvar was alive, serving the ecliptic voice, and Jaren's rage mixed with a colder resolve. This ended now. "Vex, status on the Nexus?" Jaren asked, his voice steady despite the storm in his chest. The ship's sentient core flickered, its tone grim. "Nexus is a mess, Captain. Energy spikes, temporal rifts, whole sections of the structure going dark. Ecliptic signatures everywhere, drones, ships, and that big ugly one leading the pack. We're walking into a war zone." Talia Vren, hunched over her chronoshard detector, looked up, her blue hair streaked with sweat. "Detectors picking up the Ember's resonance. It's syncing with the Nexus, some kind of control node. If we can get the Ember there, we might stabilize the lanes." "Or blow us all to stardust," Rukthar grunted, his gravax slung across his back. The Krenvar's scars gleamed under the bridge's lights, his red eyes fixed on the viewport. "Ecliptics won't let us waltz in." Korja, their glow a steady teal, stood at the navigation console. "The Nexus is the galaxy's heartbeat. If it falls, the expanse fractures, trade, travel, unity gone. The Ember is the key, but the voice seeks to rewrite time itself." Jaren's grip tightened on the Ember. The ancient voice in the temple had warned him. Time demanded sacrifice. He glanced at the hollow locket, Lyra and Tev's faces a quiet ache. He'd wanted to save them, to undo his failure, but the crew, Talia's grit, Rukthar's honor, Korja's hope, had become something else. A family he hadn't expected. The galaxy's fate rested on this moment, and Jaren wasn't running anymore. "Vex, plot a course through the Nexus's outer defenses," Jaren said. "Talia, prep the Ember for integration. Korja, guide us through the rifts. Rukthar, you're on weapons. We hit hard, we hit fast." The crew nodded, their doubts buried under purpose. The Astralis dove into the Nexus's orbit, a massive structure of black metal and glowing conduits, its surface pocked with ancient scars. Temporal rifts shimmered around it, warping light and space, while ecliptic drones swarmed like glittering wasps. The crystalline ship loomed at the Nexus's core, its facets pulsing with malevolent light. The ecliptic voice crackled over the comm, its harmonic tones cold. "Jaren Cade, you carry the Ember, but you are weak. Organics cling to chaos, to flaws. We will erase your failures, forge a perfect order." Jaren's jaw clenched. "You don't get to decide what's perfect. Vex, jam their signal." "On it," Vex said, and the voice cut to static. The Astralis weaved through a hail of gravitic lances, their beams twisting space into knots. Jaren's weave sparked, feeding him combat reflexes, but the Ember's energy surged, sharpening his senses to a razor's edge. He dodged a rift, its edges flickering with ghostly images, other times, other lives. Talia's detector beeped, pinpointing the control node deep inside the Nexus. "Shields at 60%, Vex shouted as a lance grazed the hull. "We can't take much more." Rukthar fired the ship's kinetic cannons, shattering drones, his laugh a low rumble. "Keep flying, human. I'm just warming up." Korja's glow flared, their hands tracing temporal patterns. "The rifts are unstable. I can guide us, but the Ember's power is singing ray. It wants to be used." Jaren felt it too, the Ember's warmth pulsing in his hand. He pushed the Astralis harder, diving into the Nexus's outer structure. The corridors were vast, lined with glowing conduits and ancient machinery, but ecliptic drones poured from every shadow. Talia rerouted power, her prosthetic arm whirring, keeping the shields alive. They reached a massive chamber, the control node at its center, a towering spire of crystal and metal, pulsing in sync with the Ember. But the crystalline ship blocked their path, its lances charging. Drones swarmed, and a new figure appeared on a hollow projection, Kale, his nervous tick unchanged, his eyes cold. "Jaren," Kale said, smirking, "you're still chasing ghosts. The Ember's ours. Hand it over and maybe you walk away." Jaren's blood boiled. "You sold out Lyra, Tev, everyone. For what? Credits, power." Kale's smirk faltered. "Survival. The Ecliptics are the future. You're fighting a lost cause." "Then I'll lose fighting," Jaren spat. "Vex, full thrust, ram that ship." Are you insane? Vex yelped but complied, the Astralis surging forward. The crystalline ship fired, its lance tearing a gash in the Astralis' hull. Alarms blared and Talia cursed, rerouting power. Rukthar's cannons roared, cracking the enemy's facets, while Korja wove a distortion, slowing the drones. Jaren aimed for the ship's core, the ember's light guiding him. The Astralis slammed into the crystalline hull, a bone-rattling crash that sent sparks flying. "Shields are gone," Vex screamed. "We're sitting ducks." Jaren grabbed the ember and his pulse pistol. "Talia, Rukthar, Korja, with me. We're boarding the Nexus. Vex, hold the ship." "You're leaving me to die," Vex protested. "You're tougher than that," Jaren said, a ghost of a smile. "Don't prove me wrong." The crew fought their way through the Nexus's corridors, drones hot on their heels. Rukthar's axe cleaved through crystalline forms, his roars echoing. Korja's distortions bought them time, their glow dimming with each effort. Talia's plasma torch burned a path, her detector guiding them to the node. Jaren's weave burned, the ember's visions flashing. Lyra's laugh, Tev's tiny hand, but also the crew fighting for him, for the galaxy. They reached the control node, its spire blazing with light. The ember hummed, its power begging to be unleashed. But Kale appeared, flanked by drones, a gravitic lance in his hand. Behind him, the ecliptic voice manifested as a shimmering hologram, its facets shifting like a storm. "You cannot win," the voice intoned. "Time is ours to shape." Jaren raised the ember, its light flaring. "Time's not yours. It's everyone's." Kale lunged, his lance firing. Jaren dodged, the beam scorching the floor. Rukthar tackled Kale, their massive forms crashing into the spire. Drones swarmed and Talia fired her torch, melting their hulls. Korja wove a final distortion, their body trembling and collapsed, their glow nearly gone. "Korja!" Jaren shouted, but they waved him on. "The ember now!" Korja gasped. Jaren ran to the spire, the ember burning in his hand. His weave screamed, showing him futures, a galaxy saved or one erased. Kale broke free, his lance aimed at Jaren's back. Rukthar roared, throwing himself in the way, the beam tearing through his chest. The Krenvar fell, his axe clattering, his red eyes dimming. "No!" Jaren yelled, rage and grief surging. He slammed the ember into the spire's core, its light exploding. Time fractured, the chamber warping, drones froze, Kale stumbled, the voice's hologram flickered. Jaren's weave burned, and he stood in a void again, the ancient voice returning. "You have chosen," it said. "The ember will stabilize the Nexus, but its power will fade. Or you can rewrite time, save your family, but risk the galaxy." Jaren's heart tore. Lyra's smile, Tev's laugh, they were everything. But he saw Rukthar's sacrifice, Korja's hope, Talia's courage. The galaxy wasn't perfect, but it was alive, messy, worth fighting for. "Stabilize the Nexus," he said, voice breaking. "Let the ember burn out." The void shattered and time resumed. The spire blazed, its light flooding the Nexus. The ecliptic voice screamed, its hologram dissolving as the crystalline ship exploded outside. Drones crumbled and Kale fell, his lance sparking uselessly. The Nexus hummed, its conduits glowing, hyperspace lanes stabilizing across the expanse. Jaren knelt by Rukthar, the Krenvar's breath shallow. "You fought well, human," Rukthar rasped, a faint smile. "Make it count." "Always," Jaren whispered, his throat tight. Talia helped Korja up, their glow faint but steady. The chamber trembled, the spire's energy fading. The ember, now dull, fell from the core, its power spent. Jaren picked it up, its warmth gone, and tucked it into his jacket. Kale stirred, crawling toward a drone's remains. Jaren aimed his pistol, his hand shaking. "Why, Kale? Why them?" Kale's tick twitched. "I was scared, weak. The Krenvar offered safety, the Ecliptics offered more. I'm sorry, Jaren." Jaren's finger tightened, but he lowered the gun. "Live with it," he said, turning away. "That's worse." The Astralis limped to them, Vex's voice crackling. "Captain, Nexus is holding. Lanes are back online, but we've got Concordium ships incoming. Time to go." They carried Rukthar's body aboard, Korja leaning on Talia. Jaren took the helm, the nexus glowing behind them. The galaxy was safe, but the cost was heavy. The hololocket felt lighter somehow, as if Lyra and Tev were watching, proud. The Astralis drifted in the quiet void of the Viridian expanse, its hull battered but whole, the core nexus a distant glow behind them. The hyperspace lanes hummed again, ships blinking back into motion across the galaxy, trade and travel stirring like a heartbeat restored. Jaren Cade sat in the cockpit, the ember, now a dull, lifeless shard, resting in his palm. His neural weave was silent, no longer buzzing with the Chronishard's power, but the weight of Rukthar's sacrifice and the choice he'd made pressed heavy on his chest. The hololocket hung open at his neck, Lyra and Tev's faces soft in the dim light. For the first time in years, Jaren didn't feel their loss as a wound, but as a quiet strength. "Vex, how's the ship holding?" Jaren asked, his voice rough but calm. The sentient core's lights flickered, its tone lighter than it had been in cycles. "We're a mess, Captain, but we're flying. Shields are patched, engines are purring, well coughing but close enough. Where to now?" Jaren didn't answer right away. He looked out at the stars, the nebula's violet glow fading in the distance. The galaxy was safe, the ecliptics shattered, their crystalline ship a wreck drifting among the Nexus's debris. Kale was gone, hauled off by Concordium forces that had arrived too late to claim the glory. But Rukthar's absence was a hole in the crew, his gruff laugh and steady presence irreplaceable. Jaren's fingers traced the ember, its surface cold. He'd chosen the galaxy over his past, and though it hurt, it felt right. Talia Vren slumped into the co-pilot's seat, her blue hair tangled, her prosthetic arm clicking as she tossed a small device onto the console. "Finished the Chronishard detector," she said, her voice tired but proud. "Tuned it to pick up residual temporal echoes. Might help us avoid trouble next time." Jaren raised an eyebrow. "Next time, you signing up for more of this?" Talia snorted, a spark of her old sarcasm returning. "Someone's gotta keep this rust bucket flying. Besides, I'm not done proving I'm the best engineer in the expanse." "You already did," Jaren said, meeting her eyes. "Back at the Nexus, you kept us alive. That's more than enough." Talia looked away, a faint flush on her cheeks. "Yeah, well, don't get sappy. I'm billing you for the parts." Korja glided in, their translucent skin glowing a soft, steady teal, stronger than it had been since Valthi's. They carried a small Krenvar blade, one of Rukthar's, its edge nicked from battle. "This was his," Korja said, their melodic voice heavy. "He would want us to carry it to remember." Jaren took the blade, its weight grounding. "He saved us," he said. "Saved me, I won't forget." Korja's glow pulsed gently. "The Solari believe loss weaves us together, like threads in a tapestry. Rukthar's thread is still with us, binding us." Jaren nodded, the words settling deep. He looked at the crew, Talia, Korja, even Vex's flickering lights, and felt a warmth he hadn't known since the outpost. They weren't just a crew anymore. They were his people. "Vex, set a course for Solaris Prime," Jaren said. "Korja, your people need to know what happened. The Nexus, the Ember, all of it." Korja's glow flickered with surprise. "My people exiled me. They may not listen." "Then make them," Jaren said, his tone firm. "The galaxy's changing. They can't hide anymore." Korja inclined their head, a gesture of gratitude. "I will try, Jaren Cade, for Rukthar, for us all." Solaris Prime shimmered like a jewel, its surface a mosaic of bioluminescent forests and crystalline spires. The Astralis docked at a Solari outpost, a floating platform wreathed in mist. Jaren, Talia, and Korja stepped onto the platform, greeted by Solari elders whose glows pulsed with suspicion. Korja spoke, their voice a melody that carried the weight of their journey. The Nexus's collapse, the Ecliptic's threat, Rukthar's sacrifice, and the Ember's power now spent. Jaren watched, the hollow locket warm against his chest. He'd expected resistance, but the elders listened, their glows softening. One, an ancient Solari named Vera, approached Jaren, their eyes like twin stars. "You carried the ember," Vera said. "You chose the galaxy over your heart's desire. That is a strength my people have forgotten." Jaren swallowed, the words hitting deep. "I had helped good people better than me." Vera's glow pulsed. "The Concordium will seek you, Jaren Cade. The Nexus's restoration has drawn eyes. Be wary." Jaren nodded, the warning settling like a stone. The Concordium, the Krenvar Dominion, even rogue factions, they'd all want answers or power. The Astralis wasn't done running, not yet. Korja chose to stay, to rebuild bridges with their people. They hugged Jaren, their glow warm against him. "You gave me purpose," they said. "Find yours beyond the stars." Jaren's throat tightened. "Take care, Korja. Keep that glow bright." Talia, standing nearby, smirked. "Don't go soft on us, Solari. I expect you to visit." Korja's laugh was a soft chime. "I will, Talia Vren. Build something extraordinary." Back on the Astralis, Jaren and Talia prepared to leave. The ship's bridge felt emptier without Rukthar and Korja, but Vex's voice filled the silence, a familiar comfort. "Got a message from a trader on Carthos," Vex said. "Says there's work in the fringe salvage, maybe some smuggling. You in?" Jaren glanced at Talia, who shrugged. "Beats sitting still," she said. "But I'm picking the music this time." Jaren chuckled, the sound easing the ache in his chest. He set the ember, now just a stone, on the console beside Rukthar's blade. The hololocket caught the light, Lyra and Tev smiling. He didn't need to rewrite time to honor them. He'd live for them, for the crew, for the messy, vibrant galaxy they'd saved. "Vex, plot the course," Jaren said, leaning back in the captain's chair. "Let's see what's out there." The Astralis roared to life, its engines humming as it left Solaris Prime behind. The stars stretched ahead, endless and alive, whispering of new challenges, new hopes. Jaren's hand rested on the hollow locket, his heart steady. The ember's call had ended, but the galaxy's song was just beginning.